Good morning and welcome to a dreary but exciting day in Kentucky. I am in Bowling Green at the National Corvette Museum. This should be exciting. Got something big planned later too. We'll get to do the entire assembly tour later on, but first we'll check out the museum. Looks like a pretty easy entrance. Plenty of accessible parking, even reserve parking if you have a Corvette. Here we go. We're at the main entrance and we'll just find ourselves a parking spot and go on in. All right, so I'm excited. Here's the entrance. We're at the Corvette Museum. I'm not even the biggest Corvette person you've ever met, but I like cars, and this is just a piece of American history, right? American automotive history, Americana. This is all about the Corvette. Okay, let's see what they got. Oh, this is just, isn't this nice? We're all decorated for the holidays. Got greet you with Corvettes right off the top, and that one's even running, which seems like a terrible idea, but you know, since we're indoors. But I'm just going to guess that we've got adequate ventilation for that. Ooh, Corvette Store. I feel like I should check that out. It wouldn't be a very good museum if it didn't have a huge gift shop. I think whatever you want, Corvette related, they'll probably have it here. Whiskey glasses, beer glasses, coffee cups, all kinds of clothing, even food. I got some paraphernalia, some spices and stuff they sell. I don't know what that's got to do with Corvette. Oh, clearance rack. Oh, sweet. One of the original 53s. It's just a selection of the original early 50s models. These are beautiful. This is automotive artwork. I may as well be in an art museum. Art reflected through engineering. I love that color.
XP300, an experimental laboratory.
Right into 1960. That is such a cool vibe. Dedicated to the one of the engineers. I don't know enough about the history, but a bit of trivia I just learned is that all Corvettes were convertibles up until 1963. So basically the first 10 years it was all convertible until they came out with a coupe version in 63. Learn something new every day. I almost missed this. It was kind of an obscure door back in the corner, but tells the story of Studio X up in Detroit and Bill Mitchell. Yeah, it just continues on a cool little walk through the history of the engines, history of assembly, where how they moved the Corvette assembly in the 50s from Flint, Michigan up to St. Louis and then ultimately here to Bowling Green in Kentucky. So just great examples of original 70s cars there. C8 R8, that looks fast. I see the hood ornament's a bit gaudy for my taste, but looks like a fast car. 1956. So a single headlight from the 50s, and that double headlights into the 60s.
But on Camaro,
God, these are just beautiful. $1963. They had split rear window. It really is. Yeah, art, science, motion. That makes sense. I'm with them. It just seems like artistry to me. As if a regular sports car is not dangerous enough, they put the engine in the back to make it even harder to drive around corners. Luckily, that never made production. I think the yellow, all I can think of is the yellow. It just looks so good on so many of the Corvettes. This looks like kind of a choice here, but don't. You want to follow the tour. Don't go left here because you'll come back around. The tour will take you back through that hallway you're looking at there. So we go into the Sky Dome. A little wall of Hall of Fame, Corvette Hall of Fame here. Lots of people and enthusiasts. And into the Sky Dome, more important people are on the ceiling, and more great cars are on the floor, and they show Corvette-related movies in the backdrop. As you're walking around, you'll see like there's Star Trek, for instance. Great examples in here. Some are better than others. Like this one here, on to my left, they put apparently a rotary engine in there. Probably a bad idea. 180 horsepower Corvette. Yeah, that's probably wasn't the greatest concept ever. So we leave the Sky Dome and head into Corvette Boulevard. Kind of wraps up the walking tour. There's the gift shop is this way. The Stingray Grill is this way if you want some food. So yeah, you could walk through that whole thing in an hour if you're not super curious. If you want to stop at every car and read everything, you take a bit longer. I'd say upwards of 2 hours if you're a curious person. And then in addition, if you want to leave yourself time in the gift shop and see the other stuff outside, maybe grab some food, you could spend 3 hours here. I think you'd be super enthusiast is going to maybe spend 4 hours here, but we did this shorter than that. In addition to your admission, there's an upcharge, and you can do the simulator experience. See, they've got 2 cars set up with the screens in front of them there. So it's $18 per person if you want to go do that. And then you can do two people for $30, and you can go head to head, like race your best friend or whoever you're here with. Nobody's doing it right now, so I don't have any video of it actually happening. Part of the museum experience that you can have your car delivered here at the museum. If you buy a Corvette, you put a code in at the time at the dealership where you're buying it, and you stipulate that you want your car delivered here, then your car is delivered here. It's prepped and everything's ready to go for you. So when you arrange and schedule your pickup of your new Corvette, it will be at the museum and you'll get a tour and everything. So if you want a little bite to eat or something to drink, they got the Stingray Grill. Not your typical museum walk-up kind of place. This is a full sit-down service restaurant in here. It's very nice, and a bar, so it's very nice in there. I'm not going to go in because there's people in there. I don't want to disturb. That's going to do it for this part of the Corvette experience today. Thanks for joining me here at the museum. I'm about to take a little drive and head over across the street to the assembly plant, and we're going to go on that tour. Well, they unfortunately will not allow any cameras, but I'll tell you all about it. So I'm feeling pretty fortunate, and so here we are, the GM Bowling Green Assembly, and it says straight up tours today closed, because you can't just drive in and get one. You had to have a reservation in advance. And the trip up here happened to coincide with like the 2 days they were going to be doing tours. I lucked into it, bought a couple tickets, and here I am. Here we are. We're gonna go check this out, and we won't be able to video inside at all. So I'm gonna do my best to try to talk about it later and let you know what happened. If you do get to go to the tour, they told us we're looking for parking lot C. So here we are, lot C, tour parking. This is really not obvious. It's not terribly obvious. That's important. If you're going on the plant tour, you may or may not be able to park in here. If you've got a GM EV and there's a spot open, you can park right up front. Handicap's right up front, and the rest of this lot is kind of dedicated. There's some Corvette spots over there that you can park in, and then you walk this way to get into the tour. So this is the last area. There's no photography inside. So they're gonna either just leave your phone or your camera in your car, and there's your welcome. You step right in through that door and you check in for your tour. I do recommend the half-hour early thing, because the walk from the parking lot can be kind of long. You may not be able to park very close. I do hope GM's able to start up these tours again soon, because that is just terrific. It's a wonderful walk across the production floor. We got to see the Corvettes getting put together. It's just fantastic. Hopefully my son and I can have a little conversation, maybe record some audio. We were fortunate enough today to be here for a day when the assembly plant tours were operating. We bought the tickets in advance. It was dumb luck on our part. We just checked the website, and they happened to be here. They happened to be available and for a couple of days in December 25, and we snagged it. Now, there's no video allowed. So what I thought we'd do is we'd come back we're in the museum here, and I wanted to talk through what we saw, because they've got this pretty cool assembly board up here, the different steps of assembly here. We can quickly talk about what we saw inside there. And so we did. It pretty much started with step one.
We got there about half an hour early, of course. Yeah, we do want to get there early just because of the parking situation. It is, of course, a factory with employees. Yep. So it is a bit of a walking distance from where you park to where you actually go sit down with the other people on the tour.
Yep, you get checked in, right? We got safety glasses, we got earbuds, and the little transmitter thing, and we watched a safety video, and we were warned not to break the rules that we all agreed to. So we hopped on in, and it kind of step one on this board here is kind of what we saw as the Corvettes were just coming into, the body panels were coming in, they were all put together, sliding down that line, and then we walked over to see the line where I see the instrument panels were getting put, like the dashboards were on those carts. What do they call the carts? The
automated guided vehicles.
Automated guided
in the case of this factory,
carts
it would
in this
be
place.
AGCs.
AGCs is what they call them here, yeah, automated guided carts. And those things were driving, all the robot carts, and they'd have a whole dashboard assembly on it, and they'd drive up next to the cars, and the workers would get those put together. So we got to see the glass, the windshield installation happening on the line, along by where those were happening. The rest of the trim gets put in there. They kind of have step 3 there. It was all kind of together from what we saw. The step 2 and 3 were all kind of together. And we also got to see where the chassis and the body are married together. That would be step 4 on this board. They bring the guided carts in with the lower chassis on it, and each one is obviously custom. You can't just attach one to the next. Each of these cars is custom built based on the engine, has to match the body type and all that stuff. And we got a nice little tour of where they store the body panels after they've been painted. They're curing. There's a lot of time. I think it's not time wasted, but it's necessary storage time when after something's painted, those body panels have to sit and cure for a while, don't they? And there was no definitive step 6 like on this board, but there was carts going all over the place. So you just have to be really careful.
Around all the place, drivers doing their jobs.
Yep, every place. And I think we both really liked step 7 there. We got to go, they got some nice chairs sitting in front of the big glass window, and you get to watch some body parts getting painted. And what did they talk about? They don't even have to have protection between different colored body parts on the assembly, do they?
They do not know.
Those the little jets.
The robotic sort of jet arms they have, they're very precise, and they do a very good job of using only as much paint as needed.
Yeah, and there's no overspray, I guess, at all, really. And what did they say? The old paint booth was using over 7 gallons per car, right?
Yes.
And this one's down to like 2.5 gallons.
Yeah, roughly 2.5 gallons per car, which they kind of said that each gallon costs roughly $1,600.
Yeah, so that's a big savings, right? The guy made a joke about paint drying, but yeah, I could have sat there for a while and watched the paint dry. That was pretty neat to see. Step 8 is just part of the process. You see the cars getting moved on. We got to meet up again and watch where they were putting the wheels on. And so the wheels and tires come down this, not a vertical exactly, but they're on a rig overhead. And then they come down and get married up, and they get installed by a real person. And then at the end of the line, once the cars are all put together, they get started, they put the fluids in, and they start. They actually allowed one of the people on our tour to go in and start one of the cars, which she thought that was pretty terrific. The final step that we saw was that pressure test where the water was getting sprayed, like he said, like 800 PSI or so many gallons of water, whatever, I can't remember, but it was like, they put a person in the car with a flashlight to check for leaks. And they take the cars out and put them in, I guess they wrap them. We saw a bunch of cars wrapped in white plastic out in the parking lot.
Kind of a standing lot just for like 2 weeks. That way if there's any recalls with that batch or shift of cars, they can just kind of go inspect the cars and make changes as needed.
Those cars are still here. They don't want to risk a recall, like putting those cars directly out to the owners. So that was it. That was the tour. It was fantastic. I think that's totally worth your time if you can come here on a day when that's the case. You get a tour, and that you buy the tour, and that includes your ticket to the museum. Otherwise, you can just come and see the museum. If you're a real Corvette person and you're in the area, you don't want to miss that, of course. But if you can swing it and get to the tour, then you definitely want the tour. So keep your eyes on that website. They don't have a definitive schedule. Our tour guide was guessing that maybe spring, maybe March of 26 would be the next time they release some more tours. Keep an eye on the website if you want to come do this. It's a neat experience. This has been just great. I appreciate you joining us. Thanks for being with me on this trip. Hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about it, even if you can't see the pictures of it. So I did my best to record as much as I could outside, because you just can't record inside. Hope you can do this sometime. All right, that's it for me. I gotta drive to Atlanta tonight. I'll see you next time.